What is up, guys? Alden Palantir. I am here right now to give you guys the news as far as Game of Thrones book reviews are going to go. I have finally decided exactly what I'm going to do with these reviews. It's not really that complicated what I'm going to do, but I thought I should just give you guys a heads up before I just start putting them out. Actually, near the end of this review, I'm actually going to give a review of the prologue of the first book, but that's for later. But what I decided to do is I'm going to simultaneously review book 1 and book 3. Of course, they're going to be in different videos. So what exactly is it going to be? Of course, I advise you guys all to watch both the sets, book 1 and the book 3 reviews. They're going to be separate videos, of course, weekly or maybe 2 per week. I'm not sure yet. But what I'm going to be doing is putting out 3 chapters, a review of 3 chapters from book 1 and then 3 chapters from book 3. I'm going to start from the beginning of both of those books. So why am I doing this? Because of course we have the people who have not started reading the books, period, that want to get started. Those are the people we have on one side of the coin. Of course, there are people who have watched the series and want to read from book 3. There are those people, and I want to make both groups happy because I did get people requesting book 3 and people requesting book 1, so I just said screw it, I'm going to do both at once. So basically, yes, as I said before, weekly. 3 chapters in book 1, 3 chapters from book 3. This I might put out 2 per week, so I might put out in all 6 chapters from each book per week, which is 12 chapters a week. So I'm gonna have to be doing quite a good amount of reading, but it's gonna be all worth it. Of course, I don't mind doing this. I find it really fun and really informative. And if you guys want it, I'll go ahead and do it. So without further ado, since we already got the game plan started, let me get to the actual review. Right now, I'm only going to be doing the prologue for book 1. Alright, let's get started. We have 3 men, a part of the Night's Watch, okay? Basically, for those of you who don't know exactly what the Night's Watch is, the Game of Thrones universe is separated pretty much into 2 halves. Very basically into 2 halves. Of course, these 2 halves are very distinctly different and have a lot of different sections, countries, islands, all that stuff, but very basically 2 halves, the north and the south. Dividing the north and the south is a gigantic wall. The Night's Watch are positioned at the wall, and their goal is to protect the people in the south, which is a part of the 7 kingdoms, the realm. This is basically the safe part of the verse, protecting everyone south of the wall from whatever's north of the wall, which you already knew if you read this. What is exactly north of the wall? There's a group called Wildlings, and then there's another group, the Others. Now, let's get more into what happened. There are 3 people from the Night's Watch, which are Rangers, which is basically a group of people from the Night's Watch that are sent over the wall to scout. They're scouting north of the wall for potential dangers that could threaten, that could put the lives of others, people on the other side of the wall in jeopardy. So basically what happens here, we have Will, we have Jared, I'm going to call him Jared, I don't know how to pronounce that name, and then we have Sir Waymar Royce. Now what happens is Waymar Royce is a cocky newbie to the Night's Watch, but since he was high standing, he was a knight before he came to the Night's Watch, he was given high standing and made leader of a ranger party. Now, since he is the leader of this ranging party, his goal is to go out and lead these 2 other men on their duties. They're supposed to listen to this guy no matter what, even though he is newer to the Night's Watch than them. Now, what ends up happening is this guy's really cocky, and Will, which is one of the other guys that's sent over the wall with this ranging party, he says that he saw a group of dead wildlings. They were trying to hunt down the wildlings and perhaps kill them. Now, what Will said is the wildlings were found dead at camp. They were dead, they weren't moving, they just were unresponsive. Why chase a group of dead people through the wilderness? Waymar Royce, being the cocky young youth he is, aside from pissing these guys off at every turn, he decides he still wants to see for himself whether or not the wildlings were actually dead. They were being advised to go back since it was getting colder. Of course, north of the wall is very, very cold. People were known to die from cold. I actually like the reference that Garrett made because, of course, he had lost an ear, fingers, and toes to the cold. And he'd seen men before freeze to death. So he's all for going back. Now, what we have to realize is Waymar Royce does not give a fuck. He's young, experienced, and he just wants action. So what they end up doing is still hunting these guys, the wildlings, down. They go to the encampment of the wildlings, and to their surprise, there's nothing there. Of course, Garrett's off by himself, but Will and Royce are still hunting down these wildlings that are supposedly dead. When they reach the wildling camp, the wildlings are completely gone. They're completely gone. No, not a trace of them there, except one battle axe on the ground. What happens after this? Will is sent up a tree to scout, and he sees a bunch of cloaked figures headed towards Royce. He doesn't say anything because he's just way too scared. He just cannot do it. So, long story short, this is what goes down. Okay? In the series, in the animated series, we see something totally different happen. Totally different happen. What happened in the animated series, it wasn't really much of a fight. It was Will running away, and Garrett, I believe Garrett and Royce were shown to die very quickly to the wildlings. But what happens in this prologue is actually a lot more exciting. Royce actually starts to fight. The others make a circle around Royce. They're cloaked figures, cold as ice. Their eyes are cold. They have crude pieces of steel as their swords that look really like just blades of ice. And Royce gets into a fight with the other. With I'm gonna call it that for now because you guys aren't supposed to know what it really is. He gets into a fight with it. They have a really nice fight, a really epic fight. But in the end, Royce is stabbed. As soon as he's stabbed and he hits the ground, all of the others close in and start to stab him. Will is, of course, scared out of his mind, so he stays up in the tree where he's supposed to be scouting at. And Royce is quite obviously dead. And Will's like, you know what, I'm going to bring Royce's body back to Jared, and then we head back to the wall. And I'll tell them what happened, and everything will be great. But what ends up happening is totally different than he thinks. Will goes to Royce's body to carry it off, and Royce's dead body, the proven corpse, opens its eyes and starts to strangle Will. And that's where the prologue ends. I hope you guys enjoyed that review of the prologue, but let me just tell you guys this. I'm going to try not to give any spoilers. I'm going to try to go with the flow with everything that happens, act like I don't know what's going to happen later on, and hopefully this goes well. So there we go, guys. That's the review of the prologue. I'm basically going to break it down, say what happened, say how it differs from the adaptation, and of course give my thoughts. Of course, there are not too many thoughts to give on the prologue, but this is still a pretty long video, you can see. Anyways, guys, it's Alvin Pounds here. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, tell me what you guys think. If you have anything you'd like me to change about these reviews, make it shorter, make it longer, say more about it. What do you guys want? Anyways, Alvin Pounds here.